the main advantage of being a startup with little resource is that you need to be very focused. You need to understand what you are building and who you are building for. And you need to be really sharp in terms of, what that focus is. And I guess, in a sense, that's a blessing where really finding a niche that you think you can really dominate and win in that niche. And which means that they would tend to less focus on very niche problem that may not yield that kind of result, that kind of return in the near term. And I think that is where, startup have new opportunities where go focus on these specific niches where there may be few customers. Maybe there's not a very target market, but starting with those niches and dominating and winning in those niches and grow from that niche into other use cases.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Design QA podcast. Today's guest is Elton Cheung. Elton is a great product leader. He's worked at giant companies, got a ton of experience under his belt, and he's got a lot of cool things to share. So without further ado, let's get things started. Hi, Elton.
Hey, Marty, how are you? Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you, of course. Do you want to introduce yourself just for a minute or?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, I'm Elton. I'm founder, CEO of Tessana. Tessana is basically we use AI to make your QA, to 10x your QA productivity. And that's something that we have been very passionate about doing at Tessana. And happy to hear with Marty to share my journey creating and starting Tessana, as well as my background, in product at various larger tech companies and startup as well.
Yeah, I have a lot of interesting questions to ask you. The first one is actually about your background. So most VPs making $300,000 comfortable in corporate. You quit to start an AI company. What made you walk away?
Yeah, I think there's two reasons for that. First thing, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I'm a builder at heart. So that is something that I always wanted to come back to, starting a new company, bringing new product in to the world. As a matter of fact, as part of my corporate life, a lot of my experience were building new product within bigger companies. So that is, in a sense, it's not a very different expectation there. Not a very different, mindset there. The other thing is really, just what I see with the change that AI can bring to the world. And that really motivates me that, hey, now it is a time for me to jump back and start a company. And then, with that, the rest is history.
Interesting. So how does it differ starting something from zero again compared to working at the big companies you worked at, like Groupon and Rakuten, where they had tens of millions of users? How different that feels like? Tell me about it.
Well, there's so many things and so many aspects that are different with starting something new company versus starting something within a company. I think, well, there's so many that I can list out, but I think the main difference, of course, resources. I think that's a huge difference. When I started, Tessana, it was just myself trying to explore and figure out, how to get things going. That was I didn't have the resources of a team, engineers, developers, a lot of managers and designers and whatnot, an army of one. That was all I had at that time. On top of that, of course, with that, figuring out what direction to take it, I think that is another difference. Where in a corporate environment, there are a lot of different voices that would, one way or the other, guide you into, hey, this is what you should be building, and these are the reasons why. So those are the corporate forces within corporate that would lead you to that point. But starting a new company, a new startup, I could take it in whatever directions I want to take it to. And it's up to me to figure out what are the right things to do. And for us, at Tessana, of course, we focus on using AI to 10x QA. That is really listening to our customers and conducting a lot of interview research to understand what our customers need. How can we help them so that they don't need to worry about the mundane, tedious, QA tasks that they may be shying away from.
Interesting. So, speaking about that, what is the actually the one thing you saw in AI that made you think I have to quit my VP job right now to work on this? Was there like a moment that made you feel that way, or how did it all happen?
I don't know if there's like one moment, like one light bulb moment that kind of caused that. Hey, now is that time, and now is that decision that need to be made. I think it's an accumulation of my experiences throughout working at various places, and as well as the development of AI. On one hand, I have worked with AI, even for many years, not directly, but have been seeing how AI been changing the way that we build products. Of course, at places like Groupon, Rakuten, a lot of behind the scenes. Back in the days, we call it machine learning. But end of the day,
Hmm.
it is still artificial intelligence, basically
Right.
using machines to make decisions. So I've been witnessing, how that is changing, being incorporated into the product without being visible to the consumer, to the end consumer.
Hmm.
Of course, a few years ago, we had the ChatGPT moment where AI becomes a consumer-facing product, a consumer-facing experience, and that changed the perception of how consumers sees AI. And I think that opens up a lot of new opportunities where it makes a lot of use cases, a lot of product much easier to be introduced to different use cases that previously people were maybe less perception, less receptive to using AI for those use cases. Yeah, and that's that. That's on the AI front. And then on the other hand, just my own experience building product, leading product team, leading top product development teams. That's where I myself, witness and experience the ping pong of QA and testing and how tedious and mundane it is, and how time consuming it is, and kind of marrying the two together and finding the solutions on how do we apply AI in this context of helping companies do better QA.
Interesting, interesting. So it's a mix of these two big things. You had a lot of personal pain with the QA process, and then you saw that with the new GPT models, there is a golden opportunity for you to capitalize on or to build a solution for these pains that you were having. Is that
Yep, exactly.
correct?
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
kind of the high level. That's how it all come together. So again, it's not like one light bulb moment. It is a lot of
Yeah.
little light bulb turning on and say, okay, now all these things align. That there is an opportunity where I see,
Mm.
we can make a difference in terms of building a company, building a product.
Interesting. So you tried startups before with Pitora, if I'm not
Yep, that's
mistaken,
right.
and then you went back to corporate for 8 years. Why this time is different?
I think it's actually more than 8 years, but who's counting, right? I
Yeah.
think again the difference here, a lot of it is personal experience. To be honest with you, of course there are external forces as well that help, kind of make that decision, help me make that decision. I think personally, I'm just, have a lot more experience when it comes to building products, interacting and managing other people, building, different relationship and whatnot. And as you kind of pointed out, Petora, it was a more consumer facing company, consumer facing product, and that was and with Tessana, it is a purely B2B focus, serving our development customers. So the market is very different, in terms of how I approach building products, and I think
Hmm.
that's part of personal journey, comes with age and all that, where more focused on building a solution more that is on the B2B corporate world. And then the second thing, of course, is with the speed of building. With AI, the speed of building product is drastically different, compared to 10, 12 years ago. So it is a very different game when it comes to how to bring a product to life.
Mm.
And I think this time around, with AI, that really just changed the game on how fast we can build product, how fast we can build feature, how fast we can launch, and as well as how fast some other competitors may be able to bring up something. So really thinking about how we can differentiate and serve our customers the best, so that we can solve, their problem with the least headache on their end.
Cool. So you mentioning that made me think about the fact that every day someone launches a new AI product. How do you compete when Google and OpenAI have infinite resources? I think this is something a lot of the startup founders these days keep thinking about, because it feels like you are always going to be under resourced when you compare yourself to these big giants who could do literally anything because they have literally infinite resources.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that every founder needs to think about, competing against these big giants where they have a lot more resources than you do. And I think resources is a blessing and a curse. In a way, I personally work at the big companies before. I know how decisions are made and how they think about building new products. The main advantage of being a startup with little resource is that you need to be very focused. You need to understand what you are building and who you are building for, and you need to be really sharp in terms of what that focus is. And I guess in a sense that's a blessing, where really finding a niche that you think you can really dominate and win in that niche. Whether it is, whether it is a use case that hey, very few people think about because you have a specific knowledge that very few people know about it, leaning on those insights. The thing is, like with bigger companies, they tend to think, hey, they are putting that much resources into this project, into this new product, into this new development. They need to think about the ROI. They have an equation to think about, putting in these resources. They need to have a scale result in a certain timeline, certain time frame, and which usually translate to the biggest use case, biggest pain point, where it can be scaled to many, many millions and or billions of users.
Mm-hmm.
And which means that they would tend to less focus on very niche problem that may not yield that kind of result, that kind of return in the near term. And I think that is where startup have new opportunities, where hey, go focus on these specific niches where there may be few customers, maybe there's not many, not a very target market, but starting with those niches and dominating and winning those niches, and grow from that niche into other use cases. And that is kind of the approach that we have at Tessana as well.
Interesting. So is it also fair to say that you, as a solo entrepreneur, or as a startup founder with a small team, you are in a way advantaged because you are way more motivated to solve a problem for a small niche, compared to a product manager working in a corporate who is getting paid a salary and who's not as motivated as you are, because at the end of the day, at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, they're going to go home. But for you as a startup founder, this is your day and night thing, which is something you constantly think about. Is that fair to say?
Well, I think, broad stroke, yeah, probably. I can't say for everyone. I'm sure that there are, developers, engineer or product manager in a corporate world where they are thinking about their product 24/7 as well. So, we have to assume that that's the world that we live in order to be able to compete against other, whoever, come into the marketplace to play, right? So I think that it could potentially be one distinction, but I think more importantly is that the PM, the engineer, who are working at the big companies, yes, they should be very focused on solving that problem for one customer, a bunch of customers, whoever they focus on. But their focus is not just solving those problems. They need to think about their manager, their dotted line, their other stakeholders within a big companies. And the more high profile those projects are, the more stakeholders that they need to manage. So in a sense, they only have 24 hours a day, minus sleeping time, but who needs that, right? And if you need to manage, your manager, your manager's manager, and your CEO, your COO, your CPO, that leaves you with less time really thinking about how to solve that problem for that customer. So I think in a way, that is the kind of superpower of founders, where they, as a founders, you can manage your own time and chances are you should be focusing on your customers and how to build the best things for your customers so that you can serve them the best.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Cool. So let's switch gears a little and let me ask you this. So let's say someone is making as a product leader and wants to start an AI company. What is the first thing you would tell them not to do?
I would tell them not to do the things that they are most comfortable with. And that could vary. It could
Interesting.
be, for an engineer, it could be, go build things. For someone else, it could be something like for a designer, go design a product, right? It could be, it could be any of those things. But I would say, take a step back and think about why you are doing this. And from there, who you are doing this for. Really think about those questions on, what your own motivation is first. What, like, who are you trying to build this thing for, solve this problem for. I think, those are two biggest questions that I would try to answer. I encourage the person to think about when they want to start a company. Because I think end of the day, those two things are the most important thing. On one hand, it's like, why you do something, because going down that journey of starting a company is going to be a rough journey. And if you don't have a clear reason why, chances are, you hit some obstacles and you'll question yourself. Why did you make that decision? Right. So that's on one hand, that the personal journey to think about really your motivation. The second part is, hey, for something to be useful, you need to figure out who you're building it for, and along with that, all the the different things that the problem, the pain points, the solution, and all that. So having a clear picture on what that is, and at the same time, be ready to change your target. Having in that mindset, and be flexible and really listen to what they have to say to you, and observing, what the decision and action that they take. I think that's very important as part of this, a journey of figuring out of building a product and a startup. I have seen a lot of situation where, hey, people just jump in and start building things. This is great if you are comfortable building and you're just building things you enjoy building things and just for the sake of building things. If you're lucky, you may find customers to do that. If you're not, then you don't. So I think, right. If you really need to think about as a building a company, that's how I would encourage people to, to really think about the why and who of the questions.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think also I would add to that is that building nowadays is a lot easier than it used to be. And I think building is the easy part. All the other things besides building are the more challenging and where things could go wrong, I think, a lot more than going wrong in the building phase. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Totally. I think starting a company as a founder, you need to do the things that you're comfortable with, whether it's building or talking to customer or selling, depending on your background, right? But then as a founder, you will need to figure out how to do everything. Sometimes it may be you doing that. It may be you learning how to do that. Sometimes it's maybe finding someone else to do that, to kind of fit that role and do that things as a co-founder, as an employee and whatnot. But as a founder, you need to make those decisions. You need to figure out, hey, if you are a salesperson, then how are you going to build a product? So you need to figure out, how to fulfill that role and vice versa. So really thinking about, not doing the thing that you're most comfortable with. Just, don't just jump into that and really think about how do you fulfill that role as a founder.
Right. But let's say I am a startup founder and I'm starting a new AI company. What would be your advice for validating my AI product? Like you have an actual framework that you use for validating ideas?
I think with AI product, it's just the same with any product in general. I think that in my mind, that framework doesn't really change. End of the day, is there someone willing to use a product? And if it's, if they are also the customer, is there someone going to be paying for that product? So if there's no fancy framework in my mind, then that's really the ultimate questions that you want to look for, find the answer for. And I think, that's, of course, there are a lot of baby steps you would take, that's how I think about it, baby step that you I would take to get to that point. Let's say before you actually have a product that is working that you can sell, there's a lot of activities that can do through customer research, through customer interview, or through just simply observing how they are doing things at this time to work around or solve those problems that they may have at this time. And really, from there you can observe, think about what is the solution that you can bring to them that you believe that they can, they will use and they will pay for.
Yeah, that makes total sense. But so I have another interesting question, which is about your background. So you don't have an AI background, but you have tons of years of experience in the product world. What's your 30-day crash course?
Well, I think, let's see. I think that's interesting. In a sense, my answer to that question changed, the past few years. When I started Tessana, that was, a few years ago. My answer to that is no one had AI background because AI is new to many people. There's only very few people, these AI researchers who work at, Google Brain and, DeepMind and other places, who OpenAI, who actually have AI background. So there were very few of those people. And of course, in the past 2-3 years, things has changed, where a lot of people at big companies and startups where they just jump into AI and start building and start figuring out how to work with it. And I think at this time, if you yourself is new to AI, you have limit exposure. Of course, as a consumer, chances are you have used, one of those AI tool, whether it's ChatGPT or, Google Gemini or Anthropic Cloud, all these other tools. I would say figure out what there are a lot of tools out there that you can interact with and just get more experience about. So that is just, really try to understand a little bit more about, what AI can do and figure out more of these, use case and capabilities that can really help support your case of the problem that you're trying to solve for. Because end of the day, AI is just a tool. You still need to figure out what is the problem, the pain point that you're trying to solve for. And AI comes in the picture of, how can AI help come up with a solution, or AI being part of the solution to solve that problem that is better than before, when before we didn't have the AI AI or generative AI capability or AI agent capability that we have today. So I think that doesn't, that problem is still something that you need to solve for. AI is just a tool that, the more comfortable, the more familiar that you're with in terms of the capability, it helps kind of connect the dots in terms of, what that solution could be.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The more tools, the more AI tools I try, the more ideas start flowing into my brain. So you are 100% right there. I think people should spend as much time as they can trying new different models, trying new tools, and ideas will start coming in to them as they use these tools, because there are for sure shortcomings and there are problems that they may have experienced that could be solved using some of these tools. So you're right.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's one way to really think about, getting more idea and whatnot. And at the same time, end of the day, ideas in a way is a dime a dozen.
True.
If you can come up with ideas of when just playing with the different Gen AI tools, there is another dozen of people who are doing the same thing or similar things and coming up with the same ideas. So having that kind of coming from the other angle of, what is the pain point, what is the problem, who are the users that you're trying to solve this problem for, those are a lot more important insights that can help you propel, what your solution would be and how you can move faster or differentiate better and provide better solutions to these.
Right. Yeah. Let's keep the theme of AI here, and let me ask you this other interesting question. So, what's your one prediction about AI products that you are confident about, but most people would think you're crazy?
I don't know. I think that's an interesting question. I think whatever answer I give, someone would agree and someone would disagree. And
That's fair. Yeah.
I firmly believe AI is gonna take up a lot of the work that being done by human right now. the question of, is AI going to take our job? Yes, absolutely. It's going to replace a lot of different
Mm.
jobs, whether it's kind of mundane activities that kind of pushing paper around, or it could be, more creative work as well that we have seen AI can do. I think many people would agree that would be the case in for the foreseeable future. Question is how long it's going to take, and we can debate over that. I think that to me, is a reality in the near future. The question I have, in terms of what AI product would be, what kind of AI product will really stand out. And I think, the kind of AI product that will really be successful are the ones that, one, of course, feel the need, feel the use cases, feel the pain point. And I think more importantly, really focusing on things that AI cannot do.
Mm.
And complement that with the AI product that you can offer. For example, in the B2B world, selling to companies and all that, I think building the product, scaling the product, using AI to as part of the solution to the product, those are at this time and age is a given. And every product that compete in the same space would probably have similar solution. With AI, you can do a lot of that. But then in the B2B world, even with Tessana, the way that we are operating, being able to sell to company, being able to build that relationship with your customers, those are much harder for AI to replicate. Those are much harder for AI to replace. So being able to figure out, these ways to complement your product offering, and that is, especially something that's not something that AI is, really hard for AI to replicate and replace. And I think that's the kind of AI product that would be most interesting to me.
Interesting. And speaking of that, do you have an idea what kind of jobs in the future are going to be in a way safer from AI and all of these things that are happening in the space?
Well, for better or for worse, being a plumber or building HVACs, I think those are more likely to be AI proof. So a lot of blue collar jobs, just talking more broadly speaking. And I think those are not only there's a shortage of those type of jobs, and of course, things like nurses and doctors and all that, things that need that human touch. It is very much harder for an AI to replace human, at least in the near future. Job wise, that's where I think, those would be more AI proof. Anything that, you sit behind a computer and kind of you sit in a corner and you can do it by yourself or with a small team of people, those likely will be, will be complement by AI at the slightest, replaced by AI, in a more severe way.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you could go back to talk to your MBA intern self at Facebook, what would shock him most about you today?
Is the amount of time that I'm spending on, building relationship. As a
Hmm.
founder, I think at the former self, as a younger self, one thing that gravitated me toward, product management is focusing on, building product, understanding customers and all that. Yes, there's a part of it of, it's building relationship as well, but really thinking, product focus. But I think in this new AI world, a lot of these, again, kind of reflecting a little bit on what I just talked about before, the product itself, it become much more commoditized. So just having a great product is, in my mind, is not sufficient. And that is a difference, the like a decade ago, I may think differently. So really thinking about, what else to complement that product that you're offering. And that is, one thing that we at Tessana, that's how we are kind of building our product and our solution as well. It's not just about a product that you can use to help your QA. It's really thinking about the service that we're offering to our
Mm,
customers, that the day is about building that relationship, building that kind of with, our customers, so that they can trust not our product alone, but our, solution overall, so that they don't need to think about, the mundane, tedious part of QA testing.
right, right. I totally agree with you. Building relationships and working on maintaining these relationships is critical for any startup, not just B2B startups. I think it's all about establishing these connections between you and the people who are going to potentially be using your product, and developing the high level of empathy and understanding to their problems would make you or give you an advantage in providing them with the best solution, because you really understand them, because you really care about them. So I totally agree with you.
I'm glad you do. I think, this is a very important piece of the equation, when it comes to delivering a solution that is delightful to the customer.
Yeah, I agree. So I finished all my questions for our episode today. Before we wrap up, do you have any links or things that you would like to plug in and share with our listeners, where they can find you online, and so on?
Yeah, for sure. Of course, our website is tessanai.com. So come check it out. Again, we're very proud of what we have built. In terms of the overall solutions that we can offer to help you 10x your QA productivity. Check us out there. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm active on LinkedIn, Elton Cheung. You can find me there. I'm happy to kind of talk about your, maybe it is you as a founder, your experience and building company and whatnot. Of course, if you have any QA related, quality testing related pain points or problem challenges, happy to chat over that as well.
Awesome. Sounds great. With that, I think we reached the end of our episode today. Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Elton, for joining me today. I definitely enjoyed our conversation, and I think our audience are gonna really enjoy all the great advice that you've shared with us. And with that, I would like to thank my audience for listening in. Please don't forget to rate us in your podcasting app, or give us a like on YouTube if you're listening on YouTube. And I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.